Welcome to the Unapologetic Male. My name is Vaughn. Some people might know me by other names, but Vaughn is my middle name. It's my grandmother's name. She was from Ireland, and it's Vaughn is in Vaughan, not Von. And I was very proud of that name, and it's a powerful name. And that's the name I decided to go with for the Unapologetic Male, because this is a different vibe than anything I've ever done before. So Vaughn, my middle name. My real name is John Von Grinnell Jr. And I've been Lucas on the radio before, and Johnny G, and all these other names. But Vaughn is a very significant name for me. And when I was going over what am I going to use for my name on this program, I came up with Vaughn. And we're going to delve into topics that I never, ever, ever thought I would talk about in my life. This is an episode I never expected to do. I've recorded episode 1. It was an interview. It was a great interview. And that episode will air sometime in January. But about a week ago, I decided to do a promo for my podcast, promoting the fact that I'm starting a podcast. And it was going to be a big teaser. It's what we do in broadcasting. We do teasers to promote and get people excited. So we came up with this whole I'm coming out as the big teaser. I'm coming out, and I'm talking about the fact that, yes, I'm coming out, and some people might applaud me, some people might boo me, some people might be angry, some people might be happy. Some people are excited, some people are not so excited. And the big reveal at the end was, bam, the podcast. It's here. Enjoy. And after it was up for about 15 minutes, I started getting text messages about how people were so proud of me and happy that I had the courage to come out of the closet and be my true self. And I got so much praise. I got questions too. I had people calling up, what's up with this coming out? What do you mean coming out? Are you coming out as gay? What's going on here? I had those, and I had people that people I would never expect reach out to me. I had like hardcore Trumpers. I mean, these are people who voted for Donald Trump. Super conservative people say, you know what? I don't care what your preference is. You are a good guy, and I back you 100%. And all of those comments touched my heart that I can't just run the regular episode for episode 1. I need to do something meaningful. I have a story to tell. And while I might not be coming out of the closet per se, I am kind of coming out and welcoming you into my world, because my sexuality has been something I've battled with my entire life. It's been a tug of war. And I'm not going to say I'm gay. I'm not going to say I'm straight right now. And by the end of the podcast, you will know my story, and I'll know my story as well, which I've learned in the past week. I've learned who I am sexually, which I never investigated. I hid away who I was for so long. Many struggles and many nights of drinking and partying and having discussions about it when I was drunk. This is the first time I've ever had a discussion about my sexuality sober. I've always been drunk when I brought up my sexuality. And I hope that you will be able to embrace me as who I am, whether I'm gay, straight, or indifferent, or whatever. Because there were times where I thought I was gay, and there was times that I thought I was straight, and there was times that I thought I was asexual. And I finally figured out who I am. And this past week has been such a battle that I didn't expect. I thought that when I did the promo would come out and people like, oh, cool, you've got a podcast. I didn't expect to get phone calls from people telling me their stories about their battles with their sexuality. And I've learned about other people who have not come out of the closet, that are too scared to come out of the closet, but they were proud of me for doing that video. And I want to honor every one of you that called me and told me all of your stories. I want to honor you by telling my story in hopes that we can stop the judgment, because somebody's sexuality is their business and it's nobody else's business. Whether I like men, women, or whether I don't like either, that doesn't affect anybody else's life except for my own. And I want this to be a no judgment zone. And I am here to speak for everybody else that is scared to speak or does not want to discuss their sexuality with somebody. I'm here for you. And that's what I hope this podcast accomplishes. There have been people in the past week that have been very kind and very open and very welcoming, and I love that. There have also been people that have talked behind my back. There are people who have called my children and asked about my sexuality. Through the course of this week, I have learned why people don't come out of the closet. I have learned why people prefer to stay anonymous, because it is very, very draining. I can only imagine what people have gone through when they have come out of the closet in industries that aren't welcoming. I read a story. I did a lot of research over the past week because I wanted to make sure that this podcast was well informed. And I've learned a lot about people who have come out of the closet and all they've gone through. So on my journey and what made me who I am today, it all started on May 14th, 1972 in Mount Auburn Hospital in Cambridge, Massachusetts, about 3 blocks from Harvard University. And that's where my childhood began. My parents were very left of center in their thinking, in the sense that they didn't shield anything from me. They told me everything. And if I had questions, they answered them honestly. They didn't stop me from listening to music. They didn't stop me from watching TV. A memory I remember about my mom, who is one of the most welcoming people ever. She told me, some people don't allow their children to watch Mr. Rogers. And we watch them every day. And I said, why? And she said, some people say he's feminine, and they're wrong. He's a human being. And I remember thinking how ridiculous that because he's happy, he's upbeat, that people would think that he was feminine. And I didn't understand why people would have to bring hate into the world, because, my mom was a very welcoming person. We had neighbors who moved in 1981, and it was 2 men, and they were gay, and my mom told me they were gay, and, I went down, I met them. I used to go over to their house, and I hung out with them many times with my mom and my dad, and they were absolutely amazing people. And one thing that my mom would always preach is that everybody deserves to be heard and everybody deserves your respect. And I feel we've gotten away from everybody deserves your respect, especially recently. Because I feel people have become more judgmental and pointing the finger. And I've experienced that a lot through my life. Like I said, my parents were very open-minded. I not only played baseball, street hockey, and football, but I also had stuffed animals. And I played with stuffed animals, and my parents never stopped me from doing that. I could have told my mom and dad anything about me, and I'm pretty sure they would have welcomed me with open arms. But unfortunately, the world that I live in was not like my household. And my childhood was very good, but I was bullied. I did get picked on, especially starting in middle school. In the 6th grade, I had mentioned to a student that I watched Good Times, and for whatever reason I was attracted to Malona on Good Times. And I masturbated to Malona. And of course he laughed and then told everybody in the school, and he said, if you masturbate, you're gay. And proceeded to tell everybody in Spanish class that I was gay. This was the first time I experienced discrimination and was hurt, and I cried. It changed me a lot, and it did make me question my sexuality and who I am. And from that point on further, I really didn't understand who I was sexually. And I couldn't discuss it with anybody because it wasn't welcomed. And there was nobody talking about sexuality at that time. You were expected to be straight. You were expected to date women. You were expected to play ball. Expected. And I did like sports. I liked playing them. But I also liked a lot of other things. I loved music. I loved theater. And those weren't masculine. So I kind of shied away from it and lived in my own world. Now, growing up, I wasn't the popular kid. I had a difficult time with girls. I couldn't talk to girls. I couldn't relate to them. I never went on a date all through high school. I danced with a girl once in the 8th grade. It was the final dance in our semi-formal in the 8th grade. Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin played, and it was the last dance, and I hadn't even talked to a girl the whole night. I was hanging out with my friends the whole night, but every one of them was dancing with a girl, and I'm like, well, I'm the only one here not dancing with anybody. I better find somebody. So I found somebody, and I danced with them, and that was the last time I danced with a girl until adulthood. And it didn't feel right to me. And that's the basic theme, was my connections were all with boys my age, not with women. And that sent me into the mind space that maybe I'm gay.